Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight pertinent news, current affairs, community stories from across Namibia, as well as international headlines.
Here's what to expect in this lunch hour. The face behind new $444 million Namibian health tenders, new Windhoek mayor sworn in, government accused of prioritizing animals over humans. To stay with NMH at 1, economic news, sports updates, and international headlines coming up, read to you by Glen-Nora Tjipura and Aina Kweyo. In today's midday news update, Lichtenstrasser testified that he was planning to approach Mueller on the Monday after the murders took place to discuss the terms of his relocation to the named Southern Campus. Proceedings have adjourned to 24th April 2023.
Leave us a comment on our social media platforms to engage with these stories and more. Visual news coming up after the break.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
Let's get into our visual news. Philemon Shitipanga and Edgar Muyombo are part of the hydrologist team monitoring the flood in the north. Here they provide an update. Let's take a look.
I'm Philemon Shitipamba with my colleague Edgar Muyombano. We are the hydrologists deployed to the ground to monitor the flood situation in the Kuvelai Basin. We are currently here at Shanalumono, where we received water from southern Angola. There has been substantive rainfall from Angola, southern Angola, in the past few days, and we also forecast to receive more rainfall in the coming days. So the Kuvelai catchment has two main streams that bring water to Namibia. We have the eastern stream, which passes to the east of Oshikango, which follows the Oshigambo river stream. We have a station there, but it's currently vandalized, so it's not transmitting any information currently, but we did not yet receive that water from the eastern stream in Namibia. It is still in Angola. We might expect it in the coming few days. And then we have the second stream, which is to the west. And currently we are here at Shanalumono, where the water has crossed the road that is coming from Omafo to Otapi. This is Shanalumono station. In the tower there we have our instrument, the cello, which is monitoring the water flow.
In the western part of Oshikango.
The City of Windhoek councillors, on behalf of PDM, AR and LPM caucus, said they are completely against the dominance of one party in the management committee. The council elected 3 SWAPO members as MC members and will elect additional 2 members in the next sitting. Let's have a look.
Thank you very much, colleagues. And I know most of you might have questions with regards to Politics 101 that just occurs there. We will just want to start with the aspect of absolute power, the principle of absolute power, and the problem that arises from absolute power. You can never be in a situation where you give absolute power in a situation where you're supposed to work as a collective. So we've been engaging different people and all those things to attempt to also just ensure that there is no absolute power given to a person. We wanted to have a formula that worked. When we had the vote of no confidence, what were we doing in the vote of no confidence? We were saying no to an MC that had 4 councillors from the same party. He has that experience, he will speak to him. He was alone against 4. We brought a vote of no confidence to deal with that problem of absolute power. For the first time, you now had a management committee that did not have absolute control. So in the process of engaging, some sat and telling us that no, they are going to take whatever it is that SWAPO gives them because they have cars to pay. So we are saying no, it's a very dangerous thing to do. When you start engaging in a situation where, in fact, what has actually happened over the past, we allow the media and ordinary people, property developers to shape conversation about the city. Most of us have been quiet about those things and it's not going to happen anymore. We are not going to allow speculation, we are going to be speaking to you directly. The councillors that you are seeing here, they will be having programs of their own. There will be a management committee of their own. So if Edward is having problems, the 5 of us will go to Edward's house and listen and bring it here. Because we are not part of giving absolute power to one person. We cannot be part of giving absolute power to the same party. You are creating a problem.
Tjipura Kanyama has emerged as the owner of Amnix Trading, the company that won 3 lucrative medical supply tenders from the Ministry of Health. Newspaper Review takes us into these and more news from the country's daily newspapers. Stay with NMH at 1.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and 1up2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Algemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Let's get into your newspaper review. The Namibian Sun on its front page reveals that businessman Tjipura Kanyama has emerged as the owner of Amnix Trading, the company that won 3 lucrative medical supply tenders from the Ministry of Health, including one valued at $416.7 million Namibian dollars, a staggering $265.8 million Namibian dollars, more than the next highest bidder. Amnix Trading previously belonged to Dr. Vikrumuka Naik, a Zimbabwean-born pharmaceutical businessman who is currently a Namibian national, and Taiwanese-born South African national Shun Yen Wu. The paper's page 3 reports that Fish Road accused James Hautukilipi, Sakeo Shangala, Pius Mwatelulu, and 2 of their companies have appealed to the High Court seeking the cancellation of a provisional restraint order granted in 2020 on request of the Prosecutor General Martha Imalwa. They called on the High Court to immediately stop Imalwa's office from handling their frozen properties, and that it should be surrendered to the appointed curators.
Now, on its front page, Afrikaans Daily newspaper reports that out of 26 stations that monitor flood water in Kukafle area between Otapi and Ohangwena, only 9 are still working. The rest are all damaged by vandals. This was confirmed by the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Forestry, Jonah Musheko, yesterday. On page 3, the paper reveals that the Teachers Union of Namibia has appealed to its members all over Namibia to reject an agreement signed between the Namibia National Teachers Union and the Ministry of Education, Art and Culture last Friday. TUN Secretary General Mahongora Kavehuhwa says the agreement is not thought well through, cannot work, and is a half-baked strategy which will certainly only cause another disaster.
The Allgemeine Zeitung today elaborates about the generation conflict, which is now splitting the youth and the old in the Erongo region. The topic leading into this diversity of interest is that on the one side, the mining sector is looking for new resources in that area, while the parties which are involved in agriculture and nature preservation do not want the industry to destroy the environment. On its page 3, the Allgemeine Zeitung looks into the incident that happened in Luderitz. The environmental organization Luderitz Marine Research recently complained about heavy equipment that had plowed up about 320 meters of the Großbach beach on the east side and up to 15 meters wide. The Ministry of Fisheries has now commented on what happened.
After the break, we return with more newspaper reviews. Stay with NMH at 1.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
Let's continue with our newspaper review. Landless People's Movement spokesperson Inise Mbula said the head of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Theo Munjoro, must find the stolen laptops or resign. The Namibian reports Munjoro registered a case of theft at the Windhoek police station earlier this month. Mbula said the credibility of ECN is in dealing with sensitive election material in a safe, transparent and accountable manner has become more questionable than the time laptops were confirmed to have been illegally removed and pawned by one of its officials. The paper's page 3 reports that the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism has been accused of prioritizing animals over people. This follows numerous injuries and fatalities in the two Kavango regions as crocodile attacks on human beings continue to threaten the lives of residents.
Following the withdrawal of 5 other candidates for the position of Windhoek Mayor, Nudo's Joseph Waipingeni is the city's new mayor, as he was the sole candidate, New Era reports. Waipingeni has been sworn in as mayor. The politician will be at the helm of the council as its chairperson for the next 11 months. According to the paper's page 3, 15 out of 52 local authorities and 3 regional councils do not have substantive CEOs and chief regional officers due to what is becoming a disturbing trend of unprocedural appointments and suspension. Urban and Rural Development Deputy Minister Natalia Hojases said that cases of unprocedural appointments and suspensions of CROs and CEOs are a great concern.
Now moving over to our next story. Over the period of January 2022 to November 2022, Namibia did not record any trade surplus, with the trade deficit averaging 2.6 billion Namibian dollars, according to a statistic released by the Namibia Statistic Agency. Namibia's import bill averaged 10.6 billion Namibian dollars between January 2022 and November 2022. In November 2022, Namibia imported goods worth 10.5 billion Namibian dollars and exported goods worth 8.9 billion Namibian dollars. This led to a trade deficit of 1.6 billion Namibian dollars.
After the break, we get into your economic news. Do stay with us.
Irongo Talk brings community news in the Irongo region. For news-related or advertising queries, contact Irongo Talk at synergy.com.na. Irongo Talk, our community, your news.
Let's get into our economic news for this afternoon. Now, Anheuser-Busch InBev, a parent company of South African breweries, is objecting to a proposed takeover by Dutch giant Heineken of Distel. It wants Distel to sell its ciders brand like Hunters or Savannah as part of the deal. Heineken has offered to sell its ciders brand Strongbow to address concerns about competition. Strongbow competes against Distel Hunters Dry and Savannah brands, and the Competition Commission found the emerged entity will have significant market shares, which will substantially lessen competition in the ciders and flavored alcoholic beverages markets.
African heads of state and global CEOs at the World Economic Forum annual meeting backed the launch of the first of its kind report on how public-private partnership can support the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. A new era for global business and investment in Africa outlines high potential sectors, initiatives to support business and investment, operational tools to facilitate the AFCFTA, and illustrative examples from successful businesses in Africa to guide businesses in entering and expanding in this area.
Now let's have a look at our economic indicators. $1 trades for 70 Namibian dollars 27 cents. Capricorn Investment Group Limited stock prices on the Namibia Stock Exchange decreased by 0.1%. SBN Holdings increased by 12.1%, while the rest remain unchanged. The local index increased by 0.3%, whereas overall index increased by 0.49%. Gold is valued at $1,918 while Brent crude oil is valued at $86.49.
Sierra Leone has passed a historic law to improve women's rights, including better employment rights. We'll find out what this means as we return with the news from Africa.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news, and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact evening@synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
In our African news slot, Sierra Leone has passed a historic law to improve women's rights, including better employment rights. Under the new Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, 30% of government and private sector jobs in the country are reserved for women, according to an official statement. Today is a historic day when Sierra Leone can rightly say it has legislation carefully designed to do away with gender inequality. Gender Minister Mati Tarawali said women will also now benefit from ring-fence senior position in the workplace, at least 14 weeks long maternity leave, equal access to bank credit and training opportunities. There are harsh repercussions for employers who do not stick to the new gender ratios, including hefty fines and even potential prison time for the financial institutions that do not give women fair access to financial support. It is through this It is thought that this will make it easier for women to start their own businesses. The government says that the employment law will apply to any business with more than 25 employees.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will kick off a year of visits by top U.S. officials to Africa on Friday, aiming to firm up U.S.-Africa ties after decades in which China has dominated investment across the continent. In a speech to be delivered at a business event in Senegal's capital, Dakar, the first leg of her three-country trip, Yellen will map out the U.S. vision for strengthening African relations, eyeing the massive economic opportunities created by its demographic boom.
Now, actor Alec Baldwin will be charged with involuntarily manslaughter over shooting. We get into this after the break and more.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Getting into our international news, actor Alec Baldwin will be charged with involuntary manslaughter over the shooting of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, who was killed on a film set when he fired a prop gun. Baldwin had been rehearsing a scene for the Western film Rust when the shooting happened at a ranch near Santa Fe, New Mexico, in October 2021. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the firm's armorer, will also be charged. Lawyers for both said they intended to fight the charges in court. Santa Fe's District Attorney Mark Carmack-Alves announced the charges on Thursday, adding that they would be filed by the end of the month. Actor and producer Alec Baldwin and armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed will each be charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. The statement read, "I have determined that there is sufficient evidence. On my watch, no one is above the law and everyone deserves justice," she said. Both face up to 18 months in jail and $5,000 fine if convicted. They will be tried by jury, prosecutors said. Now, film director Joel Zausa was also wounded in the shooting, but prosecutors said no charges would be filed in connection with that. The film's assistant director, David Hulse, entered a guilty plea to a misdemeanor charge of the negligent use of a deadly weapon. Prosecutors said now he will spend 6 months serving probation.
Now, moving on to our next story, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said his government was expecting strong decisions from defense leader of NATO and other countries meeting on Friday to discuss boosting Ukraine's ability to confront Russian forces with modern battle tanks. The meeting at Ramstein Air Base in Germany is the latest in a series since Russia invaded Ukraine nearly 11 months ago, and where future weapons supplies will be discussed, particularly German's Leopard 2 second tank used by armies across Europe. Berlin has a veto power over any decision to export the tanks, and Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government has appeared reluctant to authorize for that in fear of provoking Russia. Some allies says Germany's concern is misplaced, with Russia already fully committed to war, and its repeated assertions that Western weapons transfers would prolong the conflict and increase suffering in Ukraine. Ukraine and Russia have both relied primarily on Soviet-era T-72 tanks, which have been destroyed in the hundreds during the war that Russian President Vladimir Putin started on the 24th of February, calling it a special military operation to protect Russia and Russian speakers.
We'll be back with your local sports news. To stay with us.
In local sports, the Director of Sports, Joanne Manuel, says the budget allocated to the Sports Directorate is simply not sufficient to cater for 50-plus sports codes in the country. The Sports Directorate has allocated 46 million Namibian dollars to cater for all these 50-plus sports codes.
Brave Warriors coach Colin Benjamin says Namibian sports leaders owe it to the nation to bring back the Warriors' home games, which should no longer be played outside of the country.
Namibian Rugby Union has appointed Ryan De La Harp as the Under-20 head coach and the National Academy manager. The Under-20 head coach position was previously held by Botha, who was recently appointed as the Velvetia's head coach.
We'll be back with your international news, sports news rather. Getting into our international sports news, a new challenge, the loss of several stalwarts, and a favorable draw all are things to contend with for the Springbok Sevens team as they head to the Hamilton Sevens this weekend. The Blitzboks may have bombed out in Cape Town, a tournament that seems to place immense pressure on them every year, but are still top of the standing thanks to their Dubai Sevens win.
Now, the Sharks Springboks Rugby World Cup winner Makazole Mapipi has been banned for the 2 weeks for making reckless contact with the eye of Maxime Lakou last weekend. The Champions Cup organizers announced on Thursday. Mapipi, who's 32, was cited after his team's win in Durban at the weekend, with the sanctions handed down following Wednesday's independent disciplinary hearing.
Wrapping up our sports stories, Kaizer Chiefs host Mamelodi Sundowns in a crunch DStv Premiership clash on Saturday, with records on the line and the desire for revenge burning bright.
After the break, we return with your highlights. Stay with us. If you do not have any weekend plans, let's have a look at the weekend gig guide.
Hello NMH at One viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde and welcome to the weekend gig guide segment for today. This is a segment where I get to let you guys know some of the events that are taking place this weekend. In case you are just at home, you don't have plans, this is what you can get up to this weekend. To begin with, you can catch Chill Sessions, that's tonight on Namibian Sun's Facebook page. That is at 1900 hours. That's the show where I get to take you in and around the country, showcasing you the latest music videos in Namibia. You can also catch the repeat of the show that is on NTV tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning. Moving along with other events you can catch this weekend, you can catch that as Drea Summer. He's going to start performing and DJing at the Catch. He has a residency there, and that residency kickstart tomorrow. So if you are a fan of DJ Dreas, this guy has been throwing so many parties and events in and around the country, but he has a residency at the Catch, and it begins tomorrow. And lastly, you can catch that as the Stars Under the African Skies, taking place at Midgard tomorrow, and you can catch performances by German singers. It's a very sophisticated event. You can make sure that you are there and make sure that you have $600 on you to have access to the show. So those are some of the events that are taking place this weekend. From me, Michael, until next time, it's bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching our show this afternoon. Here are our highlights. Sierra Leone has passed a historic law to improve women's rights, including better employment rights. Actor Alec Baldwin will be charged with involuntary manslaughter over the shooting of a cinematographer. Brave Warriors coach Colin Benjamin says Namibia's sport leader owe it to the nation to bring back the Warriors home games.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports, and international headlines. I am Glen-Nora, joined by Aina Kweyo.